Sorrow in Paradise, a parent's worst nightmare, when grief drives one to revenge. Living in a tropical paradise with his spouses and kids, Amier is a merchant of light, a sculptor who carves glowing crystals into spectacular and powerful, demon-killing works of art. When the ground opens up near his idyllic village to reveal a massive supply of crystals, the whole nation of Alucia celebrates. The merchants are guaranteed money for decades, and officials predict Alucia will be safe from demonkind for generations. But Amier isn't rejoicing. When the ground split apart, his 7-year-old daughter fell to her death. Amier's grief turns to rage when an old enemy returns to the village with a young daughter displaying signs of starvation and abuse. Having witnessed his own daughter's death, Amier cannot bear the thoughts of watching another child die, especially when he can prevent it. Unable to ask police for help due to the village's reputation of hostility towards authority figures, Amier takes matters into his own hands, even at the risk of being exiled and separated from his family forever. Hello everyone, and welcome once again to the Heir's Lair. I'm your host, Jonathan Taylor. For today's video, which is probably going to be the last book review of the year, I thought I would return to a series / fantasy world that I've had my fun with in the past, and look at Merchants of Light and Bone by Erica McCorkle. The Rainbow Fantasy Pioneer has released another book this year, one that I've actually beta read last year, or at least I beta read half of it because this book is fucking huge. It's a real chunker of a book. And now that I've gone through all of it, now that I've finished it, I have some thoughts I'd like to share. The TLDW of this review is this book is in many ways a marked improvement over its predecessor, Erica's debut. While her debut wasn't bad per se, it did fall into some pitfalls. The pitfalls which she was much more successful at avoiding with her sophomore release. Her world building, while more limited in scope, is still as entertaining and engaging as it has ever been, and her characterization and plotting are much more capable of servicing the framework and message that the that the author is trying to put together. So if you've read and enjoyed her first book, I can pretty much guarantee that you will enjoy this book as well. And if you haven't read her first book, then this is perhaps an even better statement of what exactly it is that characterizes her from a creative perspective. And now that I'm done talking about it in broad strokes, here is the information for the people who want to know more about this book before they delve into it. Its plot follows Amier Lasterin, a merchant of light, which in his case means someone who sculpts light-emitting crystals, and a father of 5, who up until the day before the beginning of this book was the father of 6. He is married to Liesel Denwall, a merchant of faces, aka a portrait painter, and Sue Scrimshander, or Scrimshander, I'm not exactly sure how that's pronounced. The titular merchant of bone. Someone who works with bones of all shapes and sizes for a wide array of possible applications, from dentistry to construction. As they explore the circumstances surrounding the death of their child, as well as the resulting complications and externalities, the Lasgren family finds itself tangled in a complex net of interlocking social motivations, a network which they have to successfully navigate in order to keep their family together and safe. Yeah, I have a pretty complex script, so I apologize if I blank out like that throughout the remainder of this video. I would tell you more about this book, but about this book or about its or about how its plot unveils, or about the developments within the plot. But I won't, partly because I have a spoiler policy, partly because I want you to very much experience this book at your own pace. The world building, for example, is absolutely worth any praise one can throw upon it. When compared to her debut, it is not as expensive, but it does a great job at revealing what a life within her fictional world, the Pentagonal Dominion, is like for the average person. And there are two ways through which she explores or highlights those aspects. One of those is the more pragmatic or practical and direct manner, where the characters directly navigate their environments, and where the readers are shown as well as told uh, how exactly the environments within which these characters find themselves are set up, configured, what it is that defines them, and how these characters have adapted both their communities and their guiding rules in order to make their communities function, so to speak. The second avenue through which this aspect is explored is through the snippets of in-universe economic and legal frameworks, which does a great job at showcasing the the higher level of the higher level of laws and regulations which these people have accepted into themselves, because that is what they consider to be what they consider to be useful in terms of how to run their society. Admittedly, not all of these large scale precepts are the results of grassroots initiatives, because the society that the story focuses upon is technically a theocracy. However, it is nevertheless interesting to observe the various examples of convergent and divergent evolution on a societal level, both within this story in terms of how different communities develop, and when comparing this fictional world to the real world. So yeah, there's a lot to digest here, and unfortunately, that also means that there are some potential points of frustration that can result from something the readers might consider is done somewhat neglectfully in this in this story. But still, that is more of a nitpick. The overall portrait is still quite interesting, if I may say so myself. Another thing that really catches is really bound to catch readers' eyes is the characterization, which is very much a unique beast, so to speak. Even though this book follows a singular POV character, just like her debut, Erica actually manages to give more of her characters a specific level of definition and insight by including various asides from a variety of other characters. And these asides explore not just what it is that makes those particular characters distinctive, or what characterizes them and their development, but also in terms of how it is that they relate to each other, and how it is that they clash or synergize, how they see their own relationships, and how they form their understandings of the world around them. It is a reminder to the readers that they are even if only quite briefly, exploring a vast array, network, and patchwork of characters, communities, and relationships, each of which each of which combine and relate to each other in a whole series of chaotic and complex ways. Nevertheless, as I said, it is quite interesting to observe. Even if not all the characters are as memorable, I will say that all of them are still interesting and are still distinctive. I'm surprised though that the reactions of this book so far don't really mention its slower pacing. But then again, I think that is because most people realize that the pacing isn't slow because it drags its tail, pun totally intended, but because it takes its time. There are lots of things that this book has to set up: characters, situations, social dynamics, or even relationship dynamics, and it does a great job at presenting those and setting up how exactly the environment around them actually influences or shapes to some extent the activities present. It is in that sense a very deliberate kind of slow, and I can very much say that as I was reading it, even though I did recognize that it was going at a slower pace, it was necessary for it to go at a slower pace. And every development that was actually presented, within this within this story, was presented exactly when the narrative actually required it to be present. As as the readers are put into perspectives of the characters and allowed to immerse themselves in that naturalistic manner. There is, however, a certain level of frustration that the author has opened herself up to with this technique, because there is a level of frustration that can result from the fact that the characters people are following might perhaps respond in ways some characters would consider not constructive or not helpful. And yeah, I'm not really sure that she has really done enough to mend that gap within perception or perspective between her characters and her readers. Then again, that's just my opinion. It's not something I've seen quite often. Overall, this book is a bigger and better representation of the author's diverse interests and passions, and a sizable development in her capabilities as a storyteller. My final rating for Merchants of Light and Bone is a 4 out of 5. And that was my review. Thank you for your attention. If you enjoyed it, well then please like the video, and maybe even share it wherever you think other people will also like the video. If you have anything you'd like to comment on, both about the book or my review of it, that's what the comment section is for. And if you want to see when my next video gets released, well then please subscribe. And ideally also ring the bell or do whatever else YouTube will ask of you in order to keep you notified. My books, the first of my own Heir to the Empire series, The Next Generation and The Path Not Taken, are available at various book retailers under their respective links in the description down below, right past my social media links, which I would suggest you check out should you choose to. Additionally, you have the option of supporting me on Patreon, where depending on the level at which you pledge, you will receive various perks, such as, for example, early access to my YouTube videos and scripts, both for this channel and my second one, because yes, I also have a second channel. where I talk about whatever it is that interests me in that moment. Until next time, I am Jonathan Taylor, and this has been the Heir's Lair.